In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how one single piece of data can dramatically change the performance and increase your return on ad spend, specifically for your meta ads. And it's something that I've been doing for probably 5 to 6 years, to be honest with you, with my own meta ads, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in ad spend, and also observing and working with dozens, in fact, hundreds of e-commerce brand founders over the last few years in my paid community, my Ecom Blueprint and Up-Level Mastermind programs, where we help e-commerce brands scale using everything to do with their e-commerce business. And this is something that has dramatically increased the performance of their ads, and as I mentioned, my ads as well. So I'm going to go through exactly what this is and how you can use it. Now, this is something that's come to my attention under more of a microscope with one particular client in my Up-Level Mastermind, where we looked at her ads. She is traditionally a costume hire business and has a physical store in Queensland, Australia, but also sells online, and that's obviously why she came to me to help Up-Level Mastermind program. And she hit $137,000 in late last year in 1 month, off the back of, doing between $40,000 to sort of $50,000 per month. So a massive, massive increase. And it was due to really this one thing that I'm actually going to share with you when it comes down to reading and understanding our ads on another level. Okay. So typically when people are running their ads, and this is something that we obviously teach through our programs as well, we're going to look at obviously testing between audiences, and we're going to look at testing between content variations such as single images and videos and carousels. And don't stress if you're not up to speed with meta ads for this conversation, but what I'm going to be going through is pretty simple and straightforward. So when we actually analyze ad performance, and talking about meta ad performance here, there's really a few stages that we look at. And we set up our columns within the Facebook or Meta Ads Manager in accordance to this analysis. And so it basically looks like this. So the first section is how the ads are actually being served, right? How they're actually being sent out. Now, this comes down to what we call our cost to advertise. So the columns there we talk about are CPMs, cost per 1,000 impressions, how much it's actually costing us, how many impressions are actually served, and then how many people it's actually reached. So the difference between impressions and people reached, right? And the difference between that, or the multiplier of that, is actually our frequency. Okay, how many times is one person seeing your ads? So if 5 impressions is served, right, that's 5 impressions on any platform to any person, but the amount of reach is different. So I could be served 5 impressions to me being one person reach. That's just an example of how that works. So we can look at how much it's going to cost to advertise, CPMs, and then the frequency in which those impressions are being served. So then the second section and the data we look at through Ads Manager is how that audience is actually receiving our ads in terms of the impact it's having on them. All right. So that basically means what is our click-through rate and what is our cost per click? Obviously, what is the volume of clicks as well? But from a KPI kind of standpoint, we're looking at how much is it costing us to drive one click to site. Click-through rate is a little bit convoluted in the sense of it's impacted by cost per impression. I won't get into the weeds of that. So cost per click is really what we want to compare apples with apples. Okay, and then we can cross-reference that across other platforms as well to make it a comparable point of, okay, on Meta it's costing us this, on Google it's actually costing us, that cost per clicks or volume of clicks. And then the third section is actually the pixel data on site. Okay, so what that means is how many people land on our page from the ads, how many people viewed a product or a category, meaning view content, how many people added to cart, how many people purchased, and then what is the return on that ad spend, and what is our cost of that purchase, cost per acquisition, we also call it. Okay, so they're the 3 sections we actually look at when we're analyzing data. Now, what's really, really important if you are shipping, say, nationally or internationally, is where these ads are obviously being served to. But then if you're mixing your campaigns or ad sets, what region are they actually being sent to and what's the impact on that? Now, let me get into the weeds just through the example I mentioned before. So with Terry, her costume company, she ships nationally around Australia. So each state within Australia. So ads were set up Australia-wide. Makes absolute logical sense. And that's what most people should do. When you've got some data built up, and she would have spent multiple thousands, probably tens of thousands, in the last 12 months on these ads, we're actually able to look at some micro data, which basically meant, okay, within Australia, what regions the ads being sent to, how much is being spent in South Australia, Victoria, Queensland, New South Wales, etc. And then what are the returns on those respective ad spends, right? So if you go into your Meta Ads Manager, and you go to your columns, I think it is, and you go to, breakdowns tool, and you scroll down, you can either go regions, which means states, or you can go countries, which is obviously pretty obvious if you go into different countries. But we would never say create campaigns that go to multiple countries, okay? You'd block out Australia, go go to New Zealand, you go to the United States, etc., you'd have countries completely separate, so you'd be able to see this in isolation. However, in amongst those countries, you can see the regions, which is the states. Not sure why they don't say states, but it might be different countries have different definitions for states. Okay, states and territories, for example. All right, so in amongst Terry's ads, we could actually see, okay, half of the ad spend is going to Queensland and New South Wales. The other half of the ad spend is going to Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia, and the other states and territories as well. But what she could see on her back end, meaning through her Shopify account, was that the sales predominantly, like an 80-20 split, were coming from Queensland and New South Wales. So with this data of where the spend is going in but the sales are coming out, we could see a very big disproportion of dollars in to dollars out, meaning in favor of Queensland, New South Wales, we could see a very big proportion of sales coming out for the relative dollars going in. And on the other hand, we could see a very low proportion of sales coming out of those other states as the dollars going in. So we basically were able to say, okay, with this knowledge, with this data, okay, what's going in to what's going out, we're now able to isolate once again on a state by state basis. So we actually created new campaigns, new ad sets, ran similar ads, right? But also created some new ads as well to just Queensland and just New South Wales. And we actually separated both of those out together as well, different ad sets. And then we had the other states which could take the budget. Now, what this allowed us to do was firstly see where the sales are coming from, but secondly, reapportion the budget for optimal ROIs, essentially. And then we could also start to send specific messages to specific people. So she's located in Queensland. So the ads that were being sent to Queensland, we could say, use other selling points such as Queensland based and free local delivery or free local pickup or those sorts of other specific messages, because specificity really matters when it comes to advertising, right? You want your ads to actually call out the people that it's targeting. And so through doing this exercise, we did it for probably the last 6 months of 2025. The results were ridiculous. We got amazing results on the Queensland, New South Wales. We got okay results on the other states, but we're able to reduce that ad spend on those states that were underperforming, but still serve those customers and dramatically scale the ads on the other states, being Queensland and New South Wales. And the returns were insane. Like, as I mentioned, she hit 137K in 1 month, and that was over 2x what she'd been doing, 2 to 3x what she'd been doing previously. And it was through this knowledge of saying, okay, look at this state's spend to returns, look at this state's spend to returns, and being able to adjust up and down accordingly based on that customer's behavior or that target demographic or region's behavior. And so I basically wanted to share this with you because it's something that we've been talking about a little bit, or getting more granular with my clients within my paid programs, because it can be extremely valuable. It can be extremely valuable to isolate between states and certainly countries. Like, you have to be doing countries. Don't ever run 2 countries in one campaign. There's logic behind why you should, to let it compete with itself, but typically you're going to be strapped for resources and both will underperform. So you're better to put your eggs in one basket for one country, on eggs in one basket for the other. And this is, we're talking about the next level down in terms of states. So this has been extremely profitable for me in the past, my clients, and I just mentioned Terry as one example here, and something that you can look at too, because when I started my cold pressed juice company in 2013 with my brother, we could only ship basically within Victoria. In fact, in the beginning, we could only ship within 15 kilometers of Melbourne CBD, just because we were delivering it ourselves. All right, we're producing during the day, doing all the admin during the day, and then delivering the juices at night fresh to people's doors, which was amazing, but it obviously limited how far we could actually ship. So we had to drop the pin within Meta and say 15 Ks, right? Then you could go statewide, then you could go to New South Wales, right? Sydney geographically, right? So you can use this to your advantage. In my experience, it's paid dividends basically every single time. You can always reverse it, of course, but this is one way of getting an edge over who you're speaking to and the target demographic that you're actually looking to target, without getting so granular within the interest-based targeting that is certainly not recommended at this point, because Meta wants to have all of the control of the targeting, but you can do it from a region perspective. So look, I hope this little tip, little hack was valuable for you. It's been extremely valuable for me and my clients, as I mentioned, and you can go ahead and use it too. At least go and do the analysis of how much is being spent in each state and what the actual returns are in your Shopify data of where your sales are actually coming from. And you can look at the respective ROIs to be able to reapportion your budget accordingly and for maximum profit and optimization. So I hope this was valuable for you. If it was, I'd love a like, love a subscribe. I'm producing content like this all the time. Other than that, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching till this point, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.